Be live.
And all right, thank you for hanging in, everybody. Sorry we're a little late today. We had a few technical issues coming in, but that's all right. Welcome to your favorite weekly episodic series where we are interviewing members of the Orders of the Rose from across the known world, Grace Under Pressure. Um, this week we are lucky enough to be joined by Nisa. I always just call you Nisa. Duchess Kamar Al Nisa of Artemisia. And next week, we're going to be interviewing Duchess Anna of the Outlands. So let's go ahead and meet our hosts, and we'll get this
That's
bad
my
boy
cue.
started.
That's my cue because I introduced Joel and he introduces me just so that we're not just talking about ourselves. But I think you probably know us well enough by now to know that we'd be perfectly happy talking about just about anything. So Joel DeGrace or DeGrasse, depending on where you're from, has been in the SCA about 16 years and is now in Callantyr, which how is Callantyr these days, Joel?
It's going really good. Haven't had a chance to meet a lot of the people yet, but the sense of community has been absolutely amazing. I can talk about that if we need to have a dead air story in there a little bit later.
Yeah, there's always room for stories, Joel. And also, are you in the Outlands right now?
I am in the Outlands right now. I'm
Okay.
in the fine barony of Dragonspine currently.
So we know, though, that Joel is traveling because his fun fact for this week is that he has been COVID tested 3 times in the past 3 weeks because he's traveling for work. And how's your nose feeling, Joel?
Sore,
It's
but
sore. I'm sorry, Muffin. Yeah.
it's
So
a good thing, but it's basically getting stabbed in the soul with a Q-tip, and it's not my favorite thing.
well, that's all the introduction you need for today, I think, and we're all here for you. We're all here for your nose.
Well, thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
as always, I am joined by the pillar of this interview series and the one that keeps me out of trouble, Duchess Dagmare of Antir. Her first reign was as a princess of Sinagua in the west, and she's since gone on to have two reigns in Antir with her consort Dork.
Dork,
It gets
Dork
worse
Thorin,
every
Dork
week.
Thorin.
Every
I'm gonna
week
tell
it
him.
gets a little bit worse. Duke Thor Niels. This week's fun fact about her, Grace, is that when she was a kid, she actually ran a lending library from her personal stash of Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary books. Had a
Mhm.
little catalog system, had everything.
I did. I did. They had like labels in them and everything, and it was the only way I could keep track of who had my books. Oh, and Nancy Drew books, of course.
Of
But like
course.
the new Nancy Drew, not the weird old ones, but like, yeah, they're they're
The
all the same.
postmodern experimental phase.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So,
amazing.
and as always, we'd like to extend a special thank you to Ashaxi and Rifkin for hosting Grace Under Pressure on the Sisters Interview Network. And Ashaxi is with us in spirit today. She is accepting questions in the comment section on the Facebook page. So if you have something that you just absolutely have to ask or some sort of heckle that you think would greatly enhance our interview, be sure to let her know and she will filter that into our attention. And now, Joel, would you please introduce our wonderful guest?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that is joining us today, we are super lucky to have one of my favorite people. She is beautiful. She is patient. She is an extremely patient woman, given who her consort is. Has had fantastic reigns and someone that's very near and dear to my heart. Everyone, we'd like to welcome Duchess Nisa to the show. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank
Huzzah!
you. I'm so glad to be here. I really, I'm super nervous, but really looking forward to talking to you guys today. So thank
Well,
you.
don't be nervous. And I say that not to tell you what to do, but because we're all dorks and look at the way we're dressed. And our hobby is basically just a bunch of dorks in a pasture pretending to be whatever we're pretending to be. And there's no need to be nervous. However, I will mention that when I first met you, I was sitting on the floor of probably a yurt. I'm guessing it was a
Yes.
yurt.
It was a yurt.
A lot of alcohol involved because there had been a group, like a collective experience where we all brought individual bottles of some kind of god awful thing that was being put together by, I think, Colfina. And we were all contributing to this and drinking out of a spigot. And so I'm not saying that the SCA is centered around alcohol, but I do frequently refer to it as a fancy dress cocktail party. And that is how I met you. So please experience this now in the spirit of that fancy dress cocktail party where we were all sitting on the floor cackling to the point where men would walk in, take one look, and walk out again.
Back out.
They were not even willing to step foot inside the tent. So, for what it's worth.
It was pretty awesome. And not to like totally bring everybody down, but yeah, that was actually a particularly hard event for me. You didn't know this, you probably don't remember because there was a lot of alcohol there, but I had actually just miscarried right before we got there.
Yeah.
And so I really needed all that alcohol. So I really appreciated that time.
No, and that's the thing, like we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but one of the things that we hear a lot about the SCA is that the costumes aside, it's a time where people get to step outside of what their day-to-day lives are and enjoy each other and support each other. And even with that knowledge to try and put ourselves sort of beyond the day-to-day experiences of our lives. But of course, they're always still there. Yeah. So, but to have that trust to be able to be vulnerable around people that are going to treat you with dignity and respect in a situation like that, that's so important, right?
It is. It really is. And it helped. At the time, I just needed a distraction. And that was definitely provided.
Awesome. Well, maybe that's a good segue into telling us a little bit about what brought you to the SCA to begin with, what your origins are, and sort of what your place is in the SCA, where you've grown up in the SCA, if you will.
Okay, so I found the SCA through a roommate. I had gone through a divorce, and I found this amazing roommate, and she introduced me to one of the, for lack of a better term, kind of a fringe group. And I went, I just wanted to party and have a good time and hang out and make new friends. And I did exactly that. It was exactly what I needed. My first event was Uprising in 2000, which is an event out here in Artemisia. And I played fringy like that for quite some time. And then I met Timmer, and then I met Sean, and then, well,
How did you decide on your persona?
Because I like the clothes. I just found something comfy to wear and something that I felt pretty in, and just kind of went from there. Ended up with, I still do mostly Middle Eastern. And that's what I'm wearing right now. Obviously the headdress is not so much, but I kind of mix and match. I'm okay with not being on the laurel track.
Yeah,
I did something very similar where I look at something and I'm like, that looks so cool, like the black monk's robe with the and plus also I don't have to wear pants most of the time when I'm wearing a monk's robe,
and you have the hair for it.
It's true.
You have the hair for it. I mean, that's so important. Like I have bangs because when I was teaching high school long ago, a student looked at me and said, "Hey, did you know that when you get really mad, that vein in your forehead pops out?" And I was like, "Thank you for letting me know I have a tell, and I will get bangs," and I've had them ever since. So this is really to protect me from projecting, my emotional state on other people and making sure that they don't know that they're secretly pissing me off. But
fair enough.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people dress for the climate that they're in. That's really common. We're finding, I'm in Ontario, where we have a lot of people who do things that are adjacent to Scandinavian cultures and Viking era cultures, because it's cold and wet here a lot, and that's nice, but it's not the only thing we do here. But we can wear clothes that are for colder weather, and
Well, and that's the one thing about the Middle Eastern is, even though Middle Eastern is connected with warmer weather, it's still a lot of layers. So that allows for layering up and being able to be warm enough in some of the weather we have. Or I just change, what I'm doing, change it up a little bit so I can wear something warmer.
That's right.
Either way.
That's right.
So, one of the first questions that we like to ask is kind of really get into it, is that you've had 3 reigns now in Artemisia, and I was present for 2 of them, I believe. But you have a lot of experience now. If current version you could go back and tell pre-first reign version you, what advice would you give yourself? Or, basically, what advice would you give to a up-and-coming consort that, wants to know like that solid piece of foundational advice before first reign?
For me, being an introvert, the thing that freaked me out the most was having to be in front of everyone. And Sean's really good at off the cuff, and I like to have things planned out, but that generally doesn't work very well for most things that we do. So just remembering that just to breathe. And I've been told that, and it seems to be working because nobody said anything otherwise, that if you just talk from your heart, and I just talk when I have something to say, if that makes sense. And Sean and I worked out, for us, it worked out that if I speak first and then he fills in after me, anything that I might have missed that we talked about before. So I don't have the pressure of, if I miss it, it's just not going to go said. So just find that person that, make sure your consort is someone that you can work with really well. It doesn't have to be someone that you're romantically involved with, but just someone that you communicate with really well, and have an amazing box.
Yeah.
Those 2 things.
So important.
Yes. My box got really good at reading me, especially if Sean wasn't there. So he would know my tells as to when I was, because sometimes I struggle with words. I think I have a little bit of a brain injury from anesthetic. So sometimes I know what I want to say and I can't come up with the word. And so the 2 of them both know my tells of letting me try and then when to fill in. So yeah, just really your box and your consort. Make sure you have good.
And we don't talk a lot about how people with different abilities or with something that might be considered a limitation function in the SCA or function in a position of leadership. And we do talk about being the crown as being a form of theater. And I think what you're saying is really important, because knowing who can complement you and ensure that the people around you they don't necessarily have to be unaware of what those challenges are for you, but that you're able to move smoothly through them and move beyond them, and we use voxes because, frankly, they're louder and they add to the pageantry. There's lots of soft-spoken people that have reigns. So why wouldn't someone who maybe has a hard time with something cognitive or some other problem that could be considered a disability, why not have a vox or have other people around you that help complement those things and provide?
Yep, exactly. It's important for you to communicate with your heads of retinue and make sure that they know those tells and those things. My head lady in waiting always knows that if I'm struggling and I need time and I say I need time, I need time.
Right.
And that was one of the things that early on, and having been able to serve with very closely and helping out, where I've always really respected that about you, where when you needed that time, you weren't going to try and internalize it more. You would set that and you would go, okay, I need to go out inside and get a break. At golf orders and Battleborn, when you needed that break, and when you knew you were at that point, you're self-aware enough to be able to say that, and that's awesome. A lot of people don't have that self-awareness, so that's one of the very many things that I respect so greatly about you and adore you for. I just wanted to
Thank you. That is definitely one of the things that I would tell people from in the very beginning is just, and that came over time. That came through not telling people and things not going so wonderfully because of it, and learning your limits.
That's
and
so
learning
important.
to vocalize those limits.
I think limits, boundaries maybe is a better way to think of it, because they're not limits if you're learning how to work with them, right? They're this is a good boundary for me. This is where I feel safe, or where I feel the end of where I can contribute is here. So I know, so I get migraines, and there was a reign I was thinking about up in our Principality of Thierry, where I had a horrible migraine. I was so sick, and I needed to go out and do court. And I was lying down, and my court was, my retinue was trying to like work around me, and things weren't going well at all. And I felt really, really sick. And somebody felt that was okay to share with people, and it was okay, because migraines are a debilitating condition for a lot of people. And when we came into court, they did non-hearing applause and didn't cheer instead of yelling. And I didn't ask for that, but if I had been just quiet and not said anything about why I was suffering, and it hadn't been communicated, I mean, it was an opportunity for people to extend some grace and empathy and compassion to someone who needed it. And I think that's important. People need to know, because they're often willing to step up and kind of meet the challenge of helping people, right?
Yeah. Well, and just because we're up there doesn't mean that we aren't people too.
Right.
And I think that helps others see that they can do it too, even if they have things that maybe are creating barriers that they feel that would be prohibitive to them doing something like that, whether it's baronial or an officer or as crown or anywhere in between there. It's not. It's hard to communicate those things sometimes, but if you can get a good conversation going, we can work with it. We can work around it. We can work through it, whatever. We can do it. So.
That's right. I'm thinking about what a typical reign is like in Artemisia too, because we've heard a little bit about Artemisia in the past in another interview of someone that you know very well. But I am curious how your reigns were structured and staffed, and how that may have played into people's ability to help you when you needed it.
Like I said, your heads of household, so because we've had 3 reigns, we've done our staffing a little bit differently in different times. So first reign, I was still fairly new. And so I didn't know that many people I knew that many people that were there and what their abilities were and what their strengths were, and how much I could lean on them when needed. And I was really lucky. We got Sean, of course, helped us figure out who our heads of household were, and to have those really strong positions set up with people of trust really helps take the pressure off. That's another thing is huge, is when you're looking at who maybe, and it's okay if you're in crown to say, oh, if this works out, or someday I would love to have this person do this. Like, it's okay to have those things in your mind. I think sometimes it feels like you shouldn't be thinking about any of that ever until you've won. And by then you're like, oh, panic, now what? So I was really lucky. My retinue was really strong. We did do one round of retinue where it was I think our second reign. We tried to put up people that were more to spotlight them. And that one was a little bit more of a struggle for me because I tend to not be very vocal about my needs. And so if I don't have someone that can read me, it can kind of get iffy sometimes. But again, it's just knowing your own personality and picking out people that you can trust. The rest of your retinue, like your ladies in waiting, your guard, all that stuff, give as many people opportunity as possible to come with you and ride on your coattails. But your heads need to be people that you know you can rely on and trust.
Have you yourself served on retinues?
I haven't. I'm kind of the fill-in person. So when there's other people from our household that are reigning or friends of ours, I'll be like, hey, if you need me, just let me know. If you need someone to fill in, somebody doesn't show up or there's a gap or you need a break, I'm kind of that friend retinue. So, yeah.
So one of the things about Artemisia too that I've been curious from a reign point of view is that, you know, there's very much a camping season and a like day event season.
Mhm.
Do you have a personal preference on if you like the summer rains or the winter rains, just for what you personally enjoy, or are they both have their pros and cons? Or
I think they both have their pros and cons. I've really enjoyed both. Camping as a crown for me can be a little more challenging just because I want to feel pretty and it's kind of hard when you haven't showered for 3 days, and you can't find your mirror and you're running around and but I mean, it's not like I don't do my makeup on a regular basis, so events are hard.
I'm sure Joel can really relate to this.
Yeah, Joel, you know how this goes, right?
it's the worst, man. I can never get my eyeshadow right, and those porta
Those
pretty.
bad hair days, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, it's just the worst. My hair gets all frizzy and so, fun fact, actually, I've always kept my hair short because if I let it grow out, it is like it looks permed curly. I have ridiculously curly hair. There you go. So over your time now as both having been on multiple reigns and just being an active player in general, you've attended a few vigils. I know this for a fact. And there's always that kind of like go to like the core of the piece of advice. It's obviously going to be tailored to the person you're talking to, but there's always that core. When you're giving advice at someone's vigil, what's the core of the advice that you like to give to someone?
So I knew this question was probably coming.
Yeah.
And usually I'm really bad at this because yes, I'm a royal peer, but it's not lesser, but it's different than a peer that you've worked up to. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's not that I didn't earn my peerage, but it's different when it's someone for a laurel, a pelican, an MOD, a knight. And so I kind of usually go in, I cheat. I go in with Sean. I let him do his thing. And usually if I'm going to go in, it's someone that I've been watch grow. And I just share with them, it's usually just that I'm proud of you and you deserve this, just reminding them that they have done all the work and that it is time for them to be recognized, because I know after talking to people that a lot of times they feel like maybe they're not, I mean, some do, some don't, but maybe they're not ready, or maybe it's too soon, or things like that. And it's just that giving them that reassurance that they are ready, and I've seen them grow and they have done the work, and there's still more work to come, but they can do it. So.
Yeah, and you did just touch on something that I think everybody goes through, especially when they receive the recognition, is that feeling of I'm not ready, I don't deserve it. And that imposter syndrome. I believe that's the right word, but
Yep.
that's a thing, and that struggle is real. And I one of the best piece of advice I received was don't let it get to you, because you're being recognized off of someone else. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I was a little.
So it's their bad judgment, not your imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
So when you came in and to the SCA, you said you started playing on a little bit of a fringe group there. Who was your who was the person that you looked at and you were like, yeah, I want to be like them when I grow up? Who your mentor, someone
If
that
you grow up.
Yeah, and growing up is a relative term.
I came in at a bit of a disadvantage because it was through Timmer. And well, yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
Tiana, we love you. Yeah, so
he's the best brother ever that gets me into all the trouble. So
yeah, there's all sorts of shenanigans there. So
I feel like I'm really missing out, you guys.
Oh, you totally are.
I want a shenanigan.
Oh yeah. Anytime Timmer is around, there's a lot of shenanigans that are there. Tiana's very good at dialing him back to the realm. So shout out to Tiana too. We love you.
Well, and in fairness, any shenanigans would be pretty awesome right now.
True.
They don't even have to be high quality shenanigans. They could just be like
anything.
Very
mediocre shenanigans would be pretty awesome right now. So
and you know what? Time for me to mention this. Hey, everybody watching, do you want future shenanigans? Update your membership. We can't have future SCA shenanigans if you don't update your membership. There we go. Sorry. Moving on. Sorry, Dagmar, your question.
Excellent point, Sir Knight. If you want shenanigans, you got to pay to play. Yeah. Well, sorry. I think you were on the verge of asking a question, though, Joel, and I probably shouldn't interrupt with my own shenanigans.
No, I think actually that was I think I covered the question I was gonna ask.
Well, I think we're always interested to know what so you mentioned Timur, but when we're talking about mentors and people that have guided us and helped us in the SCA, I'm sure there's people that right now you could go to for advice or support, and I'd love to know who they are, because I think we don't give enough props to those folks. Like, who are the people? Like, I know for myself, if I'm really struggling with something, I go to Kalja in Ontier. Like, she's one of my Jiminy Crickets who I know I can always go to her, and she knows me well enough to be really honest with me. If I am, she'll tell me what she really thinks, and I trust her. And I think I would like people to know that, she's an amazing resource for me. So if people need to get to me, they need to go through Kalja and change her mind before they're going to change mine. That's probably
Yeah.
What do you think?
I guess mine is, I have a couple of them. I'm really spoiled here. I think my biggest one is Amanda Dispenser. We actually we got to give her her barony. And that was pretty dang amazing. She's been friends with Sean since they were teenagers, possibly like since he started playing around 14, 15 years old. And she was my head lady in waiting. And I have her pinned to be, if I ever do this again, because she's the one that can read me. She knows me well enough. She knows what I need. She knows when I'm not talking. She knows when I'm not vocalizing what I need, but she's like one of those people that just is there. And then as far as advice, she's really good at thinking things through and coming up with options. She doesn't tell you what to do. She just tells you her thoughts on things. and lets you, do what you're going to do. And she's always my support. No matter what my decision is, I know she's got my back.
Yeah.
So, and there's more than just her, but she's probably one of the biggest ones.
Raise my glass to her. That sounds awesome. Those are the
Yes.
kinds of friends we need.
Yeah, she's pretty dang amazing.
She's
Of course, she let us move in with her when we were building the house. So, and raining. So
that's important too. Yeah. I know it's always hard, especially when you're raining. Like people want to do things for you. And in one of our rains, we actually did have to move. And people are like, oh, we'll help you move. I'm like, that's really not in the job description for being on our retinue or being in our household or being an apprentice or a squire or whatever. Of course, my husband's like, oh no, they're squires. Of course they're going to help. I'm like, no. Like that's, we need good boundaries, but it is hard. And I know I would do the same for somebody. I'd be like, oh, you're raining. You have enough on your plate. Let me come over and help you like pack or whatever.
Well,
so
like, I know you're saying there's boundaries, and there is. I mean, but we have rules, like no body fluids with people in the household unless you're married to them, but so actually, while we're talking about my household, let me pull up this picture really fast, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this, can you see?
Yes, we're familiar with this photo, in fact.
All right. So this is, let me move this silly little thing, is a good portion, though not even close to all. We are extremely blessed, as you can see. We have Sean and his boys, of course. And by boys, I mean male, female, sorry. And then we have extended, we ended up with a rapier branch and a kind of a pelican branch and an everything branch. And without them, these are the people that we depend on. They are our family in the SCA and out. And we are blessed to have every single one of them, whether they're in this picture or not. Mm-hmm. They are an amazing set of people that between all of us, we can get anything done. Mm-hmm. So it's, yeah.
There'll be a couple in there that have actually been recognized as peers since then.
Yes, this is, let's see, Timur and Tiana are reigning, it looks like, and we are Prince and Princess in that photo.
Aww.
So, but, we're really fortunate because we have each other, and no matter if somebody's doing a baronial or a baronial or doing anything else. Let me see. Hang on, I'm gonna.
Well, you can tell us about these photos. There's no reason not to go through them right now.
Okay, let's go through them. There's Easy. So this is my daughter. This is our second reign. We always recognize our children as Prince and Princess Royale.
Yep.
Try to include them. You can't see it, but that was my first go at silk bannering, not banner, but silk.
Do you also make them carry their membership card around in a Crown Royale bag?
No.
That's just us.
Wait, is that a
But
thing?
we do make sure that the populace knows as they're standing in front of us or next to us, and as we present them, that we say, and what does this get you? And what do you just, what does this do for you? And they're like, absolutely nothing. Like, yes, they get the titles, but that doesn't mean they can be little turds to everybody. And that they will get in trouble if they are doing something they're not supposed to be doing. So very lucky. So these pictures are skipping all around. So I'll just go through them really quick. This is now Sir Bowen's knighting. I love this photo. I am holding his chain. This is something that we do during our peerages. We all pass around either the the chain in the knighting ceremonies, or the medallions, or whatever's applicable. And, you know, just impress upon our energy and good wishes to that person in that moment. So that's what I'm doing in that photo.
I did something similar when my last apprentice was elevated, that I wore her medallion by stuffing it down my bra for the day.
Exactly.
You know, just so she would know the esteem in which I held her when she was finally able to wear it.
Exactly the same thing. No, it does mean something, though, putting your energy into something that you're giving to someone.
That's right.
This is just a photo of me. I don't even remember where we were. So this one I put in here because it means so much. And this was, oh, I'm going to cry. This was another person that meant the world to us. This is Sean's best friend. And we just lost her about a year ago. It's Thea. But this was the most amazing moment. Most of the pictures I've included are of giving other people recognition. And this was us giving her her barony, her court barony. And we did it at Estrella because she was so popular and so amazing that we felt that that would give the most amount of support that she could get and allow people to be there for her. And it was pretty cool. So that's what that is. And can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, this is our step down from being Baron and Baroness here in Lochsallen. We did this before we reigned, which I appreciate. It gave me a minute on a smaller scale to figure things out a little bit and how I was going to handle my anxiety and stuff. But I'm 8 months pregnant in this photo.
We couldn't tell.
So that's baby Ziva sticking out there, hanging out.
I love that as a solution to the maternity wear. It's like, just don't button those buttons. I mean,
yep. Just work around it, whatever. So yeah, I didn't have any, I just did that through the whole pregnancy. That and the Middle Eastern lens to being able to just have it go around your belly. So.
Yep.
Oh, so this is our, I can't remember if it's first or second, but I went up to Montana as queen to do a baronial investiture. And this is these two stepping down. But as you'll notice, I do not have a crown on because I got halfway to Montana and realized I didn't bring it with me.
Whoops.
That's beautiful.
So there you go. That's me being queen without the crown on because, well, I forgot it.
That's amazing. I love it.
I love this picture because I love that man.
Yeah.
Whether he made me queen or not, I would still love him. So that was our first reign together.
You could also say that you're giving him side eye. It just depends on probably the mood that you're in that day, right?
Yeah, we were doing sword oaths, so that one is definitely, I love him.
I feel like the look you're giving him right now in that picture is he just said something and you're like, dude.
Yep. Of course, there are times that it's side eye, but I'm not going to tell you which one's which.
See, in my relationship, it's always the opposite. It's always Thorin giving me like, you really just said that out loud, didn't you? So
and
this is one of beautiful. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite photos. Happens to be one of, well, he's now Sir Lachlan, but at the time he was a squire and he won Queen's Champion. Oh. And this is just me giving him a big hug because, wow, it just got captured at that most amazing moment, you know?
Duke Sir Lachlan.
Yeah, there's that too. So this picture I picked because we're in the West. I believe that that's Annalise actually standing next to me. That belt was made from alpaca. Oh. I believe Liam of Caid made it from our alpaca, and that was for Sir Helga at her knighting ceremony.
Very cool.
I didn't put it on her, but I did get to present it because it came from us as a joint venture. So I had to include this and the next one. This is at Battlemore. That is our wee Princess Royale at the time. And Joel is fighting for Ziva because, oh, dang it. I'm going to say Michelle. Daniela, sorry, was not there. And so Joel fought for Ziva. And she was so excited. That was her first time really truly being a consort through an entire thing. And so it was pretty amazing. She stayed and watched him and everything and really paid attention, and she did really good. So of course I had to include those. This is my rapier champion, and he was just, I can't remember, Drayden was just talking to me or telling me he did his best, because I can't remember the exact circumstances, but he was my rapier champion at the time. This is when we stepped down this last time. I was really honored to receive a medal rose presented to me by Timur from all the knights, acknowledging that I had done a third reign, even though, you get your county, you get your duchy, and then you get your crazy. But I got a medal rose out of it, and it's beautiful, and I really appreciated that. And that's him presenting it for the knights of the kingdom. So that was pretty special.
It's beautiful.
Those are not supposed to be in there.
You can unshare if you want, or you can go back to the start of
Hang on, let me. That is us stepping down, and Yuri and Samaya stepping up. And I'm going to stop sharing because I know there's a bunch of other pictures in here that aren't supposed to be in there.
See, that's the good stuff we were hoping for, though.
A shirtless selfie of Sean. I'm out, though.
No, it's not that kind of pictures.
Just pictures of your food, like, oh, this is what I had for breakfast this morning.
Exactly, like silly pictures.
Which actually is a good way to ease into the next question, which is, I'm always curious how people's modern lives and the things that they do, either for their jobs or experiences they've had, have contributed to their ability to reign. And one of the reasons I like to know about this is we were talking earlier about what you need to know to prepare, or if you could go back and tell past you some piece of advice. And I know there's things from your modern life that have aided you or contributed to the attitudes you have in your reigns.
Yeah, it's actually worked the other way more for me. I've definitely over time, because I'm so introverted, tend to be shy, tend to not speak up for myself. It's taught me to be the opposite. I think it has helped my mundane career. I've kind of jumped around a little bit, but now I'm doing something that I love, and it's helping me be more in that supervisory, be more comfortable with headed towards a supervisory role, instead of instead of staying where I was. And so it's just helped give me my voice and learn to speak up.
So if I can impose my own experiences on you, I know one thing that it helped me do is to recognize how other people contribute to the success of a reign, and to look at how do other people contribute to the things that I do in my life in general, that it helped put a really good filter on that. Like, oh, there are very few things we really do on our own, completely on our own. And it's also then that opportunity. You talked about how one of your reigns, you tried to showcase people, and it is more work. It is harder when when you're trying to do things for others, or to use your privilege to elevate, and to amplify the work of other people. But the SCA and reigning did certainly give me the confidence to say to other people, I see what you're doing and I'm going to amplify what you're doing now. Because when we have privilege, how we wield it, is really, really important, right?
It is. It definitely is. You can either take people with you or you can stomp on people. And if you stomp on people, they aren't going to be around, and
Right.
you can't do it on your own.
Right.
So, and even mundanely, it helps you to recognize people's strengths and help them to, again, amplify those strengths, whether it's in a workplace or whatever it is that you're doing. So it helps you help those people find their opportunities as well.
And it's funny, you don't dilute credit by sharing it, right?
No.
It just means more people share in the gratitude or attention, but it doesn't dilute it, right?
No, it makes it that much better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
One of my favorite sayings that I've always heard is happiness is not pie. Just because you give a piece away doesn't mean that you have less now for yourself.
Yeah.
We have a similar saying. I got this from one of my very best friends, and she says, love is not built on a starvation economy.
Oh. Yeah, that's really good.
So yeah, there's always more.
And one of the ways we show love, of course, in the SCA is in the way we share our talents with each other. And I know that in Ontario, we have a culture of people making things for reigns and making clothes. And we get to benefit from regalia that's either been commissioned by the kingdom or donated. And I'd love to know a little bit about your personal regalia or pieces of kingdom regalia that you use that were really meaningful to you.
Okay. I think that I've received a couple pieces of personal items that you could see the thought that were behind them. Whether they were, in fact, this is not the cup, but I got a cup and it was a personal gift, and it was a Maggie mug, but it wasn't quite like this one. But it was completely plain. And unfortunately, I can't remember all the words, but that cup meant the world to me. And because of the people that gave it to me, for the reason they gave it to me. And it's stuff like that. I loved wearing our white scarf when we had the white scarf order. And I still wear Timmer's white scarf. Actually, the last time I reigned, I wore that. He gifted it to me to wear during while I was reigning. Just as a reminder, our kingdom regalia for the white scarf, we have a scarf that has all the names of the white scarves on it with the names of the queens that gave it to him. And I actually never gave a white scarf, but being able to wear that and show that history it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Our chain of estate is A's for Artemisia, but we have a ceremony that we do when we give the AOA award, and we actually give A's to show that they are part of Artemisia, and that's the whole ceremony is beautiful, and it gives them something to hold on to,
and a knife.
And it's usually that first piece of recognition. And sometimes it's the only, and sometimes it's not, but it gives them that that part of the kingdom.
We do something similar. We give everybody a blue tarp because it rains so much in Ontario. No, we don't. I'm just kidding.
I totally believed you for a second there.
It's believable, isn't it? It's like, here, you're really going to need to cover your stuff. It's going to really get wet. So
we feel like an wool blanket or something like that.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, and I never got my A. I'm just saying, I already had awards, but I got an AOA level award while I was in Kingdom. I never got an A. So.
Oh,
Joel!
I cannot tell you how many times I've actually given mine away. and had to restock it because sometimes they just weren't there when we needed them. But Joel, we could probably, if you got your AOA award, then we could probably get you one.
I think secretly that's the whole reason he wanted to do this interview series, is he's
It
just
seems
like really hoping to get that A.
Yeah, it seems.
So speaking of awards and and what you enjoy giving them out, and I know that you love giving out the recognition from non-religious all the way up to the peerages and everything in between. If there was one award that you could snap into existence, whether that was at your own level or society-wide, what would that award be, and what would it be based around?
I can't think of anything that I can't recognize already. We have an award for someone that's, showcasing the SCA as far as having, everything put together as far as like garb and a story and when applicable armor and or a craft. We have awards for those that help us during our reigns. We use the baronial court barony as court baronies are very personal to Sean and I. We use that for those that have stood out in our lives. So, yeah, I can't think of one that I would create.
I mean, what about a fantasy award for something that would be totally inappropriate to create? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure there's something where you're like, we really need an award for this. Kind of like, I think we should have authorization cards for people to drum. And it defines like what hours of the day they're allowed to use a drum.
Or if they're allowed to imbibe alcohol while they're doing it.
How about the TARDIS award for the person that has the most different time periods on in one time?
Right?
I could totally get that one.
I know.
We even have one for dogs and pets already. I don't know.
You have a dog award?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. We do not have that in Ontario. And a little known fact, so Seattle being one of the main population hubs of Ontario, there are more dogs than children in Seattle. This is a fact.
There's more dogs than children in my house.
I mean, sure. But
that's actually pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive. And I feel like this is a kingdom that really needs a dog award. So I may just have to champion this. But then the people who are like, what about my hawk? What about my cat?
It's an animal award.
Oh, an animal award. Okay. All right. I think this is something that could happen here,
I think you should totally go for that.
Totally.
I'm going to be disappointed if you don't now.
Well, I don't know that I will ever reign again, but I might be able to influence somebody else.
I was like, but you could put a bug in somebody's ear, right?
A bug is an animal.
Exactly.
Right?
Okay, don't really put it in their ear because ew.
Yeah, that's a little too Wrath of Khan for me. So
that was exact picture that was in my head.
So we're kind of wrapping up to the end. So the thing that I would love to know from you is what keeps you going in the SCA? Because I know a lot of us, after we've reigned, it can be tough to return to day-to-day SCA life, and what inspires you or keeps you going is important to know.
I think being able to, I think number one, I don't think we're done. We're not done trying to reign.
So did Sean know that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's important.
Yeah. I think part of what helps me keep going is I've learned to pay attention to those around me, and see what they're doing, watch them grow, watch what they do with stuff, be able to encourage them to do things. You get excited when you have new people come in, helping them find their niches. I'm always occasionally trying something new. So like, card weaving or metal things or wood things or whatever, so that helps me keep going too.
Do you collect your failures? Because I do.
Yeah.
I collect them.
And I'm not really good at anything because I keep jumping around. So I'll do something, I'll have fun with it, I'll figure it out, and then I'll move on to something else.
How else are you going to cultivate your reputation as a dilettante? I think this is important.
Right.
They call it a jack of all trades, but let's be honest, what it really is. But also, I occasionally try something and I'm super crappy at it. And card weaving was one of those things where I'm like, I just can't do this. I can't do it. I can do lots of other really finicky stuff, but card weaving fails me. So when people can do it, I'm like, that's amazing. How do you do that? They're like, well, you just have this thing and these cards. I'm like, no, it's not just that. You don't realize how hard it is for people who don't have the card weaving thing. I don't have it.
Yeah, and
that was one I really enjoyed.
Oh no, good on you, because I tried it and I moved one card and all of a sudden it was on fire and yeah, so good on fire.
You. That's right. It was a complete morale buster for me, but I'm like, okay, but what can I do? And can I, I always want to try new things though, right? And when you reign, even though it may seem like you have a lot of kind of control over what's happening to you because you're in a position of assumed authority, the reality is you have to try a lot of things that are outside of your comfort zone. Like you talked about just the public speaking part, and the privilege of reigning is never lost on me. It is a privilege to get to be put outside of your comfort zone if you're also getting to put the crown on your head.
Yeah. Well, and having that privilege, we have to remember we asked for it most of the time. Well, especially after, like I just said, we're not done trying. And so even when those challenges come up, it's like, I asked for this. I asked for this work. I asked for the crappy part that's behind the scenes sometimes. That doesn't make those parts fun, but it makes it manageable. But yeah, I think I definitely stay in. Even if I'm not in the big seat, I can still help people find their way and niche and point them in the right direction towards those that can help them become better at what they're doing. And then they eventually get to the point where they get to be recognized, and that's always awesome to see. So
and then they get to become the people that are approached and direct them to the people in the right niches. And,
exactly.
And that's how we keep the SCA alive, and by renewing your membership.
And by renewing your membership, which we have done. Just want to remind everybody that just because we can't go day to day, if we want something to go day to day too, once we can, yes, we need to keep that up.
So what is the one thing you miss the most right now while we're in the pandemic era of our hobby here?
And everybody says people.
I was gonna say my family. Being able to see everyone. We traveled a lot with it. It allowed us to go all different places. You always meet new people.
Yeah.
So I have people everywhere, and not being able to see any of them and not being able to make a plan to see any of them.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest part, is just having that complete unknown of when we will see each other again.
It's sustaining.
Yeah.
I run a Buy Nothing group on Facebook, and it was predicated on the idea that we all see each other at events and that if we want to give our stuff away, a good time to do it is to meet up at events, and it's like, oh yeah, we can't do that anymore. We can't just give our stuff away to each other by, oh, I'll be at Crown, you'll be at Crown. Great. That's great. We'll see each other there. And it's amazing how many things we rely on, proximity for that way.
I'm a hugger, so this is killing me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a hugger too, and you give the best hugs. So
Hey,
I
I'm
tried.
even missing hugs, and I'm not really that much of a hugger. And it's like I kind of like to touch people. I
At
mean,
least
that would
every
be
once in a
nice.
while with permission, right?
Well, we certainly are feeling that same deprivation in our own ways. For me, I just want to sit next to people,
Mhm.
shoulder to shoulder and laugh at the same things. Like that's a really big deal. And having you here with us this evening has certainly helped some of that. And, we're trying to make lemonades out of these lemons that we've been given and make sure that it at least is an opportunity for us to get to know people that, maybe I wouldn't have had a conversation like this with you at an SCA event. Maybe the people
Exactly.
listening wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn about Artemisia or learn about the experiences that you've had there. And so I'm really grateful that you were willing to talk with us tonight and help us understand a little bit about what it's like to reign there, but also just the individual experiences that you've had and what brought you to this game. Also, if you're withdrawn or quiet, sometimes your louder, more obnoxious partner is the one that people tend to know the best. So this is great. I'm not saying Sean's obnoxious. It's just on a scale, on a kind of a gradient scale.
Right? Yeah. I've definitely been excited about working out of the "this is Sean's wife" phase.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while. Well, kind of glad and kind of scary, but yeah, it's definitely it's hard to sit down with the people at events too. And also because I am kind of shy when I get around new people, sometimes it comes off as just being a complete bitch.
Mm.
And just so y'all know, I'm not. I'm more than happy to talk. I'm just too scared to talk to you. So if you have it in you and you want to come up and talk to me, then that's cool.
But
Then
sitting
I'll
with
start
people and
talking.
not saying anything is also kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like just feeling comfortable around people,
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Like in the SCA, we have more in common than not because we are all dorks in the clover together.
Exactly.
It's very equalizing. So if we were seeing you in person and let's say we were all sitting in our thrones and respective chairs in front of the populace, we would gift you with a gift basket, some kind of obnoxious collection of things that you could either use or give away to your retinue or whatever.
Right.
So since we can't give you an actual gift basket, we're going to give you a pretend one.
All
Fully
right.
pretend. But first, my head of retinue would have inquired with your head of retinue to find out a few key things like dark or milk chocolate.
Dark.
Dark chocolate. Okay. If you're a drinker, red or white wine.
Red.
Red wine. Okay. Puppies or kittens?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I've
Something
had
fuzzy.
both on the thrones with me, so yes.
Okay. So I think probably then what this gift basket would be composed of is some wonderful dark chocolate. We have a chocolatier here in Ontier. We have Theo Chocolates, which is a local place you can go and you can take a tour of their factory and stuff, which is like amazing. But we give you some like really good dark Theo chocolate and a bottle of red wine that had been produced. I'm guessing, I don't know how much red wine is produced in Calontier. I'm guessing Ontier is probably a better source for.
I'll snag a bottle while I'm here in the Outlands.
There you go. Wherever you are, grab a bottle of, we'll give you something local so that even if it isn't very good, at least it has a story behind it. All right.
I always like local.
There you go. And then, so since you're yes on puppies and kittens, I think we would just like go to the pound and grab some like the most bedraggled, saddest looking that nobody's going to adopt puppy or kitten and see what you guys can do with it. Cause I have a feeling that animal would end up being like the most amazing pound pet ever.
Oh, we'd totally take them.
See,
well, actually, Sean recently told me no, but I'm sure I could work on him again.
Well, and I'm not recommending that people give away animals as
no.
But this is a virtual pretend gift basket. And then
we totally can.
something more just for you. I think if we could afford it and could give it to you, we'd give you like a $500 gift card to Feed the Ravens. Everybody's like,
gosh.
I know, right? Can you just even imagine what you would do with that? Because you mentioned
No.
your Maggie mug, and
Yes.
everybody should go to Feed the Ravens website and look at their amazing wares and their amazing
So-
pottery.
I have to tell you, I did buy into the Maggie of the Month Club.
Yeah, me too.
And
Me
so,
too.
yeah, it's been amazing. She's amazing.
Yep.
I should say they are amazing.
They are amazing. I mean, it's they, but Maggie, they're Maggie mugs because that's more alliterative. So we would
Yeah.
give you like a huge, like lovely gift to go and just spend whatever you could there. Not that we would actually do that, but you know, it's a
I
fantasy.
know, but hey, virtually we can.
we can give it the thought that counts, right? So
That's right.
and thank you so much for coming. Oh, and your basket doesn't have a handle on it because that's really important because baskets with handles are impossible to pack. So that's really
True.
that's probably the most important detail that I ever tell
Actually,
people.
I have to say I've switched over to bags.
Oh, bags are good. Bags
Yeah.
are really good. Yep. Like a haversack of some kind.
Mhm.
Yep. So I know it's a sad problem to have, but baskets with handles are the bane of our existence. Please don't ever give them to anybody. They're really hard to store.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again.
Your Grace, Nisa, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I've had a really good time tonight.
Yeah, and I'm really glad. For everybody watching from home, thank you so much for tuning in or watching on YouTube or wherever this video gets posted to. Join us next week. We'll be interviewing Duchess Anna of the Outlands, who is another one of my favorite people, and
He's amazing.
Of great stories and experiences also.
Yep.
But
and I believe the week after it'll be Duchess Kiva from here in Ontier. So yeah.
So once again, thank you very much, everybody. I hope y'all had as much fun as I know we did. This was a great time and a great interview, and I think we can sign off.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.